everybody, welcome back. My name is Cassie. I am the Evil Secret Ninja, and I talk about books and review books on my channel. And today, I am doing my review for Dune by Frank Herbert. So Dune's considered like a classic science fiction. It was written in 1965, I believe. And it's still one of those books that is, I think, well loved today. Obviously, they just made a movie about it. Which I've seen the movie, the new one, and I really liked it. I feel like it followed the book pretty well. I mean, obviously there were some differences that had to be made because watching a movie you don't really know what people are thinking, and so they had to find a way to express that. And I thought they did a really good job of expressing what they were thinking. So anyway, so when you pick up Dune, if you pick it up and you decide to read it, just know like the writing style is very much more about like the age that it was written, in those kind of older fantasy, even older any type of book written at that time. The writing style is a little bit different than the writing style that we have now. It's not so, tends to be a little bit more flowery, more descriptive, that kind of stuff. So the story of Dune, it takes place far into the future, where we have, mankind has pretty much left the Earth. It doesn't really say anything about the Earth that we left behind, but we've left Earth and we're exploring the cosmos, and we found this planet that is basically a desert planet and has giant sandworms on it, but also has this drug they call spice, which I guess is really important. It's a hallucinogenic drug that's apparently very important for space travel and understanding everything. So we follow the Atreides family as they are given leadership over the planet Dune, and the Harkonnens have been there forever, and they're kind of moved out, and so House Atreides comes in to take over the spice trade. On Dune there are the Fremen, who have been there for longer than anybody else, and they consider Dune their planet. They haven't liked the Harkonnens. The Harkonnens have kind of come after them in several different ways and tried to kill them. And House Atreides is trying to be a little bit different. House Atreides is betrayed, and it leaves our main character, Paul, and his mother, Jessica, to have to leave their home and wander out in the desert, and they are happened upon by some Fremen. And then we have our story of revenge, as they are trying to get back what's theirs, and as the Fremen are also trying to get back what is theirs. Alright, so that's kind of a basic overview. Overall, like, the character work in the book was really good. They each person had their own kind of distinct voice, which I really like, because sometimes I read books and you never know who the characters. It's hard to tell the one character from the next because they're so similar, which I get. It's hard to write good characters, but I thought in Dune they did a really good job. Like, you knew the Harkonnens, like what they were after and what they were about, and Paul and his mother, like, you knew what they were trying to do, and the Fremen, you kind of understood, even like the individuals within the society, like what they were about and what they wanted. So I thought I really did like the character work. I'm gonna talk about some of the themes that I picked out from the book. I mean, obviously we have the Chosen One, who, according to prophecy or whatever, an outsider is going to come to the Fremen and help them gain their freedom or get their planet back. So we have our Chosen One trope, and even though nowadays it's kind of overdone, like back when it was written, I don't think it was overdone. And you can definitely see how a lot of, well, I mean, and it's not just this book, that the books written at this time, or even in the 70s and 80s, kind of set the stage for the tropes and stuff that we have now. So the Chosen One trope was definitely it wasn't as overdone when they did it. And I actually still don't mind a Chosen One trope, as long as it's done well. The next thing that I kind of picked out from the book was this idea of man overcoming nature. Dune, Arrakis, is this planet where there's very little water and it's almost all desert. So in order to live there, the people that live there have to find a way to, first of all, like, conserve water, and secondly, like, to be able to live in the world that is dangerous and could kill them very easily. So they have to learn how to plant food there. And then, of course, there's the sandworms that are massive and will come and eat you, and they're big enough they eat pretty much everything else. So the sandworms are another kind of obstacle that they have to overcome. So it's very much a story about, like, overcoming nature and being, but also, like, being more like one with nature. Not that you have to beat nature down or anything, but you have to learn to live in the environment that you're in, and you have to make those adjustments in order to live in that environment. There's also the theme of, like, revolutions and revenge, and trying to get back what was yours, and finding out, like, who betrayed you and what do you do, how do you get back what's yours, and going after the villain to try and get back what is yours. And then just a couple little ones that so I specialize in substance use. I am a mental health therapist, and I work with substance use. So I saw a lot of stuff in there about, like, drug use, like the whole war, the whole planet, the whole reason anybody cares about this planet is because it's got drugs on it. I mean, if this was to happen today, let's face it, spice would probably be an outlawed substance. It would be considered one of the drugs that if you got using it, you would probably go to prison. So, but I also think, like, if you look throughout history and everything, like, drugs are something that we have fought over for a long time. On, like, both sides. But if somebody has a substance, that's what the opium wars and the poppy, the opium trade was all about. And that's obviously something that's still going on with the opioid crisis that we have now. So I would say, like, as a substance use professional, when you're using so many drugs that your eyes turn blue, that's probably an indication that you should stop. Although I do understand that was the whole premise of the book. We got to get the spice. The spice must flow. Want profits from the spice. So a book written in the 60s about fighting about drugs sort of fits the time period, I would say. And then the last one is there's some cannibalism in there. The Fremen have these suits that, like, suck the water out of you, so that when you're walking through the desert, you don't lose moisture, and it's designed to capture all the water, and then you can keep yourself hydrated. When a member of a clan dies, they drain all their water out, and their water becomes the water for the tribe. So I think that constitutes as cannibalism. I mean, obviously there have been several instances throughout history where cannibalism has been a thing in order to survive. And I guess it kind of builds on that. Maybe they weren't even thinking about it. Maybe they didn't even consider that would drinking the water of another person be considered cannibalism. You're consuming something that was once human. So overall, I really enjoyed the story. I really enjoyed the character work. I enjoyed, like, the attention to detail when he talks about the suits and talks about how they smell. Well, I think that would, I mean, obviously that makes sense. If you have something that's collecting all of your moisture and then filtering it out so that it's probably capturing, like, the waste product, and our waste products smell. That's why our armpits stink and everything like that. And even the depth to what it goes through, that, you know, like, everything that you excrete has some amount of water in it, and they take that and filter that, so you've got some interesting things going on there. And it goes into detail, like, how the waste is taken care of in the suits, which I thought was like, wow, that's a really great attention to detail. And obviously, like, no book is perfect. There were some things that bothered me a little bit. Obviously, there were, and I know that this is more like from the age that it was written, but there were a lot more male characters. So it seemed like there was still some oppression of women and stuff going on. I know the movie tried to approach that a little bit differently and made some of the characters who were men in the books women, which I really like that. Again, it is a product of the time that the book was written, obviously. And I guess one of the other things, and I guess I struggle with the idea of like you being destined to be with somebody. So our main character, who is like the chosen one, has these visions of the person that he's supposed to be with, and I guess that seems like okay, I get that it's a book and that it's fiction, and in fiction, it doesn't matter. Like, the author gets to decide who gets to be with who, so they're pretty much already destined to be together. But I kind of struggle with this idea, like, oh, so does that mean like you don't have a choice in who you're with? Yeah, that kind of got me a little bit. And the ending, there were things that happened in the end with regard to how they spoke about the Emperor's daughter. I guess it just made me kind of sad that they would put that in there. Like, but that kind of goes along with how I guess some women are treated in the society. So I kind of struggled with that a little bit. Alright, so that is my review of Dune by Frank Herbert. If you haven't read it, I do suggest you pick it up. It's actually a pretty fun read. You do have to struggle through the writing style a little bit until you get used to it. But again, I think that's more just how books were written in that era rather than how they're written now, and kind of the differences in the progression of writing over the decades. Yeah, so even though it's over 50 years old, it is still worth picking up. And if you haven't seen the movie, I also suggest you see the movie. I guess it was like just the first half of the book, and I think the second half comes out in a couple of years, which makes sense. That also follows the book. Alright, so that is my review of Dune. Thank you guys all for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.